this is all wrong, I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you?
Boring. 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 Boring.
You got it work. Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly what you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages.
Welcome to another edition of Lembit Öpik Live here on Unprecedented TV with me, Lembit Öpik, where we find the facts, kill the spin and tell it like it is all around the world. Today we have a great guest as usual on a Monday, if you're in the United Kingdom and watching it live. Warren Thornton, he'll be joining us in a minute to talk about the China crisis. The mainstream media telling us that the Chinese Navy is expanding at breakneck speed. I think that's the quote, and clearly wringing its hands in case we're going to all be speaking Chinese in 5 years' time. Well, we should be able to speak Chinese because all the instructions for everything we buy, including our cars, come in Chinese because they build them. Slight problem there, I think. Anyway, we'll be talking to him about that. Also, what's happened to British firepower? And I mean David Lammy, amongst others in that. I put a tweet out. I'll tell you about that a little bit later on. Got 50,000 hits overnight. When I asked what use is David Lammy? But we'll come to that in a minute. And before we go into any of that, I want to remind you, as always, about the fantastic smorgasbord of broadcasting we have here on Unprecedented TV. In fact, we're adding more shows again in the next days, and you will find them all on Unprecedented TV's wonderful YouTube site. Thank you, by the way. We've now broken into 4 figures in terms of subscribers. Please subscribe. Please do that. It helps us so much in terms of building our business. What is our business? It's free speech. It's giving you the chance to hear points of view, sometimes views you may not agree with, but always with the sincerity of not trying to bamboozle you by dressing up the propaganda you so often get in the mainstream media as facts. You may not agree, you may agree, but the main thing is we try to do it sincerely. I always encourage my presenters to also share their points of view because they are human beings with points of view. But I always make sure they express them as views. Right, so let's start. Before we see Warren Thornton, I've got to share some breaking news. If you're watching this on the live, corporate apologia, written by a man who's neither plugged in nor switched on. This is in the Daily Telegraph. Yes, none other than Britain's worst ever Liberal Democrat leader, Nick Clegg, has taken to writing a book called How to Save the Internet. It says, and this is written by Sam Chris. You may remember that for about 30 seconds in 2010, Nick Clegg was the most popular politician in Britain. Not with me. Never with me. Okay, let's carry on. He spent this political goodwill by leading the Liberal Democrats into a coalition government that was, among his party's voters, less popular than cholera. Yes, with me. And his book apparently is, and I wouldn't normally use a phrase like this, but he does provoke me, crap. It's crap. He's got 1 star from Sam Chris. Well, I think even that's a bit generous. It doesn't really matter what Clegg actually means here. It's his job not to know things. It's a damning indictment. There's a picture of gormless Clegg sitting next to Mark Zuckerberg, and he's president of global affairs. If he does for Zuckerberg what he did for the Liberal Democrats, Zuckerberg's going to be out of business pretty soon. Why did Nick Clegg cross the road? I'll tell you when we speak to Warren Thornton. Anyway, don't buy that book. I might see if I can get a free copy of it, and then I'll give you a review. But I don't promise to be unbiased. The guy wrecked my old party. Awful, awful. Disaster area. Comparable in his incompetence, in my view, to the Labour cabinet. But at the other end of the competence scale, it's Warren Thornton. Warren, our investigative journalist, our man in Manila, the thriller in Manila. How are you doing?
I am absolutely fine, Lembit. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'll try and live up to your hype.
Thank you. It's not hype. Okay, it is. It is hype. Before we go any further, I will give you three options. Do you think Nick Clegg was bad, very bad, or positively awful?
I think he was wetter than a halibut's bathing trunk, so I wouldn't go anywhere near him. It's absolutely hopeless. Of course, we're still waiting for those student school fees to be completely free. And of course, now he's over Facebook looking after free speech. I mean, you couldn't think of a more, how can I put it? This is Keir Starmer without the charisma.
Keir Starmer without the charisma. Now that's saying something. That really is saying something. But yeah, okay, I've got a joke for you, which I may have told you before. Why did Nick Clegg cross the road?
Go ahead.
Because he promised not to. Right. So anyway, enough of that. I'm going to do an entire show dismembering that book. I will look at it, actually. If there's any merit in it, you might hear me sharing that. The guy absolutely ruined the Liberal Democrats, building the party from 63 members of parliament to 8, and then losing his seat to a drug-taking fraudster. I think it was a fraudster. I won't name him just in case I'm wrong. But somebody who got himself into hot water. Somebody else who's getting into hot water is the British government. It seems to me, and this is what I want to talk about with you, because you are an investigative journalist. China is in the papers at the moment, and we're being told, this is a scary headline, China's huge navy is expanding at breakneck speed. Will it rule the waves? And apparently Chinese shipyards, here illustrated with what looks like a commercial vessel, not a military one, and rather incongruously, a lady in a hat fishing in the dock of the bay. It's a good song, but not a great place to fish. Apparently, massing this massive navy, larger even than the United States Navy, threatening the world. Big picture, should we be scared?
I don't think you should be, although the Chinese Navy that is coming along is impressive. This is more, shall we say, Western nonsense to try and get you frightened of China before the inevitable clash that they're going to have in late 2027 over the elections in Taiwan, whereas if they can't rig them, and of course a pro-Chinese government gets elected in January 2028, then we're going to have a problem between America and China. So it's more of the rhetoric. They are building a navy, and I've been very, very lucky to, obviously with our friends in the Chinese embassy, to be able to see some of those things. Now, they've got 12 floating battle platforms that can launch 40,000 drones in one go. So, yeah, I mean, they are building an impressive navy.
That's pretty impressive. I mean, just the way the Navy looks, it just looks so cool. These ships look up to the minute. They look modern. They're not like the review of the fleet at Spithead in 1936 or something. Not like HMS Belfast, which is a venerable and great museum, but slightly out of date. Are these as modern and imposing as they look, Warren?
Yes, they are. When the Chinese recently held drills with the Russians in, of course, the South China Sea, and they did naval exercises together, I was able to get hold of some of the videos from our friends in the Chinese embassy showing some of what they were capable of doing. And they do have very impressive firepower. And of course, they're literally, shall we say, sharing information with Russia. So they're sharing their naval information with Russia, and Russia is sharing not only their drone technology, but their hypersonic missile technology as well. Hello, Lembit. Can you hear me?
Ron, I lost you for a minute there. Sorry about that. Don't know what happened.
That's okay.
It's maybe because of what we were talking about. Do carry on, please.
Yes. So just in case,
I do apologise.
just in case you missed any of that, Lembit, the Chinese are sharing their submarine and naval technology with Russia. Russia is sharing their drone technology and their hypersonic technology with China. And of course, now India are also having had a meeting with China and Russia. This is the West getting absolutely petrified of the idea that China, Russia, and India are getting on. There was a photograph of all three of them having a very good meeting and having a bit of fun and a few laughs and all smiles and handshakes. And the West are absolutely having a meltdown over this photograph on its own. But it is the tariffs and the way that the West have behaved that has caused BRICS to come up, and of course to look after, sort of to look after their own interests, which I think is something that they're always going to do, Lembit. If you bully people into doing things, let's face it, that's what sanctions and tariffs are used for. The tariffs have just been made illegal by the court, so that's got to go now to the Supreme Court to be overturned. And when you use tariffs and when you use sanctions to bully people, don't be surprised when they start up an alternative method of trading and begin trading amongst themselves and leave you out in the cold.
Now, this is interesting because, as you can see in that picture, there's a huge amount of apparent warmth between these three. And
Yes.
as you say, the West gone apoplectic. They've gone absolutely mental about it, terrified of some kind of great warming. But what do you expect? What do you expect when you treat people in this way? When you treat people as second-class citizens? Now, this is my opinion, but I think the West still doesn't fully understand the implications of the massive technological advances that are going on in China, a country which has been out in the cold precisely because that's what the West wanted. The strength of these relationships, in my view, actually define the future of the world order. Is that too dramatic?
No, it's absolutely bang on the money, because let's face it, the rules-based order, as we know it, is you do what America tell you to do. Otherwise, you get sanctions, you get the usual attacks or the attempt to overthrow the government. But they can't do this with India now. India are getting along famously well with China, where, shall we say, their relationship has not always been great in the past. Literally, the sanctions and everything else, China know that they're next in line, so they want to be friends with Russia. And of course, these three are all going to get along famously. In fact, as soon as Trump put the tariffs on India, the Indian foreign minister flew out to meet the Russians and obviously to meet the Chinese and how they were going to go about this. So BRICS was never about getting rid of the dollar. It was about having an alternative system of trade when America put the squeeze on. And America no longer can do that. And if they do that, of course, they'll find themselves out in the cold. And of course, you have to look, China, Russia and India, that's over half the world's population right there.
Now, I think that the West is in denial. I feel that the West still regards the people in that picture there as some kind of a sideshow pariah, which needs to be contained. But I don't see that happening. I just don't think that's realistic anymore. I think that the China crisis that we're talking about here is one which is no crisis at all for China, but it's a huge problem for the West, because for the last couple of 100 years, the great imperial powers, primarily led by Britain and the United States, have ruled the waves. We've got songs about it. And half the world was under the purvey of what you might call the British, big word, hegemony, but the British Empire. Now, that seems to be changing, Warren, and I don't think there's any way that we can stop it.
Yes, there was a great quote by one of the Indians who said they're not only in denial, they're in the Mediterranean, they're in the Black Sea, and they're in the South China Sea. And of course, this bullying, or shall we say, hanging around these various areas. At the end of the day, you have to remember how many bases that the Americans have, some 450 bases in the Pacific alone, and around, obviously. They've got Japan, they've got Philippines as a proxy, and everything else, and they're trying to bully various other countries with sanctions and everything else, not to trade with China, not to trade with Russia. Just look how they tried to bully India over buying the Russian oil, and Indians have quite simply, Lembit, the Indians have quite simply turned around and say, if you don't want our oil that we buy from Russia, don't buy it from us. It's not a problem at all.
So really, we're on a pretty sticky wicket here. There isn't really a way of stopping China by threatening it from a military point of view. Well, there's Xi Jinping with an incredibly disciplined-looking navy and rather fetching attire, I think. If you say. They're rather cool, and presiding over what I think is, well, the Chinese and Russian military, two of the most powerful militaries in the world, but he's got one which is said to be one of the most efficacious.
Yes, absolutely. And it is one of those things where China and Russia have moved on. Warfare has definitely moved on. Gone are the days, I don't know if you saw the other day, there was a ridiculous thing put out by the British military showing men crouching behind a tank and moving forward in muddy conditions. Well, very good luck with that, because drone warfare and the new missiles, which of course the West can't knock out a hypersonic missile, let alone an Oreshnik missile, which is now going into mass production in Russia. They've given that technology to the Chinese, who in turn have given their naval technology to the Russians, and they're about to have a massive upgrade on their navy. So it'll be a case of it's not so much to threaten the West, but as far as they're concerned, it's their way of protecting themselves from the West. If they can outdo them in terms of the military that they have, and they are doing that by a long way. When you consider there's 53 nations helping Ukraine in this war, there are 2 nations helping Russia, and Russia are winning hands down.
I would say it's more than that, really. I actually think that there's an economic shift now. I think there's an economic shift from what we've got to where we're heading. You mentioned drones, and if we can put up the picture of the American drone, that would be great. Here's an American drone. This is the way I imagined drones until recently. A dinky little thing can take photographs and maybe drop some leaflets saying the war is over or we surrender. So that's typical of what I tend to think of American drones. I know I'm going to be unfair now, but if we can see the China drone, it doesn't look like a drone to me. This one, that's a drone. Look how big it is. It's the size of a lorry.
Yes, it is, absolutely. Absolutely. And China are leading the drone technology. Russia are not very far behind at all. They have these huge Garand drones, which are taller than a man, that can deliver payloads quite badly. Of course, we saw the European Union and the British Council getting very upset about a couple of drones and a couple of missiles that landed on their area, shall we say, or on their patch inside Ukraine. The drones, that if you have a look at what China are actually doing just on their aerial displays alone, where they use it for commercial purposes, they've broken the world record for putting that many drones in the air in one go. And I was privy to a demonstration where they were able to fly these drones with sensors on through a bamboo forest, all 60,000 of them, and literally into to an area where they wanted to go. But they had sensors on them. They set up where they were supposed to go, and these sensors just guided them away from bumping into anything. And once they're literally in the air, they can split up into different. They can either go in formations, they can go in all sorts of lines and patterns, and of course they are almost impossible to stop, Lembit, as we've seen in the Ukraine-Russia conflict.
This one, apart from being a very beautiful aircraft, as far as I can see, it's something of a monster. What would that one be used for? The one on the screen?
That would be used mainly for surveillance. So that is what they call the Chinese Dragon drone, which is used for surveillance, but it can travel at speeds of up to Mach 5. So
what?
It is.
It's supersonic.
Yes. Oh yes. Yep. It's meant for high altitude flying. They have other ones, of course, as well. They have. The Chinese have 127 different types of drone members.
One of those Christmas, Warren. Can you ask your mates in the Chinese embassy, please?
Yes. You are absolutely right, Lembit, in that we don't have the first idea of how powerful. Well, we do through actually, visiting the embassy and seeing various things that they've done at various trade fairs as well. But the drone technology that they're using, we get to see, and they go, if we unleash this, we want to use it for commercial. I mean, they're actually using commercial drones now regularly in normal life to deliver food to people and deliver aid supplies to people. And these things get there, they drop off, they're absolutely brilliant. They've actually got drone helicopters now as well.
It's extraordinary. Before we go further, we've got a new satirical show coming up, Warren. I know you don't miss a thing that goes out on unprecedented TV. It's called Poor Kids and White Kids, after that wonderful phrase used by Joe Biden. Have a look at this. It's going to come up real soon.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
You've arrived in the broadcast world when someone makes a cartoon out of you.
Yes, absolutely. I've got to say that very much along those lines, Lembit, satirical is my kind of thing. I was brought up on Blackadder and Monty Python, so I'm well happy to see a nice satirical show coming your way.
Yeah, it is. We've already recorded some of them. It's Road Crash TV, actually. It's very, very funny. So, yeah, do watch that. Poor Kids and White Kids. The first edition is going out today at some point, I'm told, as soon as the crew, which is working flat out. We need more producers to deliver that. Anyway, back to what we're talking about. Time is flying, by the way. We do have slight internet issues, so if we disappear for a moment, don't go away. We'll come back. Now, a few more thoughts. Just one more thought about China. China doesn't occupy that much of the world's geographical area, but they're tremendously powerful. I think what we're looking at there, the bit in red, is essentially the global factory. Now, what I don't understand, Warren, is why anyone thinks we would attack the place that's building everything that we buy.
Well, it's very, very simple, isn't it? The more the Chinese manufacture, it's always been that way. The more that the Russians manufacture, and of course we don't manufacture anything in the West anymore, the more you manufacture, the more money you make, the more power you can assemble. There is no question that is happening, and the global hegemony that was out there is now shifting. It's shifting away from the West and moving east.
Hegemony, it's a big word, but I think it's right. Basically, the empire, the center of imperial power is going from America on the left in that picture, past Britain. Britain long ago lost it, even though it's got a pretty big Commonwealth, to China. And of course, China's right next door to its buddies. We saw them warmly welcoming each other. And that is Xi Jinping welcoming Vladimir Putin. And of course, Modi. Modi runs with the fox and the hounds. He's friends with both. But I think he's going to gravitate towards BRICS, towards the new agenda. Why wouldn't he? He's been kept down for decades. His country's been kept down for decades.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of the day, it's like the global warming scam that they come out with. For 1 second, Xi Jinping is one of these guys who's been told to drag his people out of poverty. If you think for 1 second he's going to march into this green global agenda, pour billions and billions of unnecessarily money into this, then you've got another thing coming. They might make all sorts of nice noises and everything else, but literally India, China, these burgeoning economies are going to take absolutely no notice. And while we're destroying our own economies by pouring money into this nonsense, they're just going to go further and further ahead. The problem is we're the ones with a big gun, but we keep shooting ourselves in the foot every 5 minutes.
Yeah, it does seem like it. And on that point, before we have a quick chat about Zelensky's potential corruption woes, David Lammy, he's not exactly cutting it, is he? What's wrong with David Lammy? Why isn't he doing a better job?
Oh, he's very, very simply, he's not up to it. This is a man who, remember, he thinks that Henry VII preceded Henry VIII. He thinks Marie Antoinette got a Nobel Peace Prize. He's about
the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1903. He was married to Pierre Curie.
Marie Curie, yeah, exactly that. And he's the sort of guy who leaves an absolute state and a mess in the back of taxis, and then has arguments with French taxi drivers. This man is just quaffing and eating his way through the foreign and Commonwealth Defence Office budget, and of course they have spent over £1.5 million now. Everybody is saying that's not just David Lammy in the time that he's been in office. That's other Foreign Office staff as well. But it might help you to know that the budget for the food and drink has gone up 24% in the last year, which is, as your show is titled, unprecedented.
This is, I should stress, an artist impression. Obviously, he would eat a lot more than pictured there. The other problem with him is what you can get away with when it's satirical. I'm joking, David. Enjoy your breakfast. But the other problem is he's making the strangest bedfellows, so to speak. Here is the man with what's he called? I forget what his name is. Yes, that's him. Yeah, there was a $10 million bounty on that man. He was one of the most wanted terrorists. And there's David Lammy, presumably just before a bit of lunch or something, shaking hands with the guy because he's got a suit on.
Yeah, absolutely. This is Al Jilani, the makeover of ISIS or Al Qaeda or whichever group it is that the Americans and the Israelis are pouring money into. And of course, as the British are in bed with anything that Australia and America and should we say Israel do, David Lammy's more than happy to shake hands. This is just literally a guy from an Oxford University who didn't do very well at Brooks. Of course, he went to Brooks University.
Well, it wasn't the proper university. It wasn't the famous university. It's a proper university because I've been there. Brooks is pretty good, but it wasn't Oxford University as you would think of it in.
No.
Okay.
No, it's a bit like London.
I thought about doing that. You know, when I thought I was going to flunk my A levels,
yes.
I thought if I go to Oxford, Brooks University, I can tell people I've been to Oxford, and he's done it. He did.
Yes.
What I thought about doing. What a disappointment! I was always wondering how he could possibly have made it into Oxford University. But
one of those. Well, you wouldn't be surprised if this man thinks the London Underground is a political movement. He's that dense. It is quite incredible watching him work. He's quite the worst foreign secretary we've ever had. And of course, every time he literally stands up, he wants to equate reparations to Russia or China or whatever. This guy is just a grifter. He's absolutely hopeless as a foreign secretary. He doesn't have the first clue what he's saying. And what's more, he's so badly researched, it's unreal.
Just out of interest, the gentleman on the right, I'm told he actually did preside over the killing of children and others. Is that true?
Al Jilani, very simply, got a makeover from the Americans because, of course, he was willing to overthrow Assad. They killed Alawati Christians by the hundreds. And, of course, we've got tons and tons of videos that show his soldiers executing Christians and then dumping the bodies. This guy is still a terrorist. He's just a terrorist in a suit.
Strong words. Maybe we'll talk about that a bit more. I don't know enough. I don't know enough about him to say for sure my view on it. But there's something to be judged there in the world of free speech. I want to explore that. I think in some ways that old phrase, one man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist. And obviously he became useful, very useful to us. It's worth remembering, of course, that one of the great assets for the West in Afghanistan when Russia was occupying it was, of course, Osama bin Laden. He was on our side in the, what's it called, the Mujahideen.
Yes.
And then he became tricky.
Yes, one of those. We do make strange bedfellows, but we're used to this. So the Belt and Road, America funding various, shall we say, interests in the Belt and Road just to make sure that China's infrastructure gets blown up. I think we've had 17 Chinese engineers have died suddenly in the last 8 months. So that tells you something.
Well, presumably it was just accidents, but I look forward to seeing the independent inquiries. The state of the British Army, not quite as good as the Chinese Army. My team suggested that this is a figurative example of the actual state of readiness of the British Army. I get that.
Medical. A farce. A criminal farce. Me. Flaming one. I'll tell you, mate. 2 of everything you should have 2 of and you're in.
If you've never been doubled up before, if you've never lost your breath laughing, we warn you it could happen now.
Get your hair cut in the morning.
as you watch a bunch of physical jerks, a proper shower of misbegotten misfits who never miss a trick.
Now, I'm a quiet, reasonable, humane man. I know. My mother told me. Oh, yes, I had a mother and a father, even though I'm a sergeant.
Can I report sick, please?
William Hartnell as Sergeant Grimshaw. Shirley Eaton as Mary, a honey pining for a honeymoon, just married to a ripe Charlie, Bob Monkhouse.
Who can forget Bob Monkhouse? Bob Monkhouse in his early days there.
Yeah, absolutely. The British Army is in a perilous state. There are people leaving. They don't want to join. Conscription is being floated. Conscription is not going to wash. The army don't want conscription for the simple fact that you've got people on. You've seen what's happened in Ukraine when people are forced to fight or people are forced to be conscripted. They don't make good soldiers. Therefore, they don't make good killing machines. Therefore, they'll be no good on the front lines in a war with Russia or, trying to defend Ukraine.
I want to finish on that very point, actually. There's been a story of corruption which has been knocking about on the internet. Zelensky's $1.2 billion offshore property empire exposed. This is from the Sri Lanka Guardian, but it started, I think, maybe in the UK. The properties allegedly span some of the world's most sought-after markets. In Spain, the network is set to control luxury villas in Marbella and penthouses in Barcelona. So that's been going on. But for the sake of balance, there is a refutation coming from somewhere. This is from Lead Stories, actually. Unsourced. Just because it's trending doesn't mean it's true. Fact-checking at the speed of likes since 2015, says Lead Stories. Who's right? Olenka K, this mystery whistleblower. Does she exist?
Yeah, whether she exists or not is neither here nor there. There's no doubt that Zelensky, along with his partner from Kvartal 95, which is his studio production company, suddenly became incredibly rich over the space of 2 years. And of course, we have money from Olomoisky and everything else. But he definitely owns, we know for a fact that he owns at least $400 million worth, or £400 million worth of properties in the UK. There are many other properties offshore as well. He has, with his friends, which is obviously his solicitor, he owns 38 different companies in offshore holdings in places like the Caymans and elsewhere. So this guy is absolutely dripping in corruption, I'm afraid. And of course, this story was put out by the Telegraph. The very first story about this woman was put out by the Telegraph. Now, the Telegraph, we all know, is the MI6 and the British establishment's mouthpiece, if you like, and they are getting ready to replace Zelensky with a guy called Zaluzhny, who has been over here being groomed for the last year and a half.
But one of the big buddies, huge buddy of Zelensky is Keir Starmer. On and on he goes about how supportive he is of Vladimir Zelensky. What happens if Vladimir Zelensky is seen to be a bit of a dodgy dealer?
Oh, make no bones about it. He'll shake hands and he'll cuddle Zelensky, but if he's told to throw him under the bus, he'll do it in a heartbeat. There is no. Lembit, you are an ex-politician. You should know there's no such thing as loyalty in politics.
Well, that's where I went wrong, I think. I really did try to be loyal to people, and maybe it didn't work. Okay, looking ahead then, you have a big show every day, and that's going to be from when till when? And about what? Warren has got some... Yeah, hi, I can hear you. You're doing tremendously well, considering you're living in the middle of a power cut in the Philippines, by the way, probably in the monsoon.
Thank you. Monday to Friday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And on Sundays, of course, at 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. at warrenthornton.com. I am joined by the wonderful Lembit Öpik. So do come across and see our live daily show. You get the first hour free. After that, it's behind the paywall because we're showing you videos that other people will not.
Yeah, just a wonderful thing about Warren Thornton is he is better connected than just about anybody I know. So monsoon or typhoon or no typhoon, power or no power, the show goes on. Very rare that you don't succeed. We got through it there. Very pleased about that. And also, of course, right here on Unprecedented. We have 1 hour of his 2-hour show from the day before, and that will focus on some of the things we've discussed. It will go out also at 11 o'clock British summer time, so you don't have long to wait. All of it available also on the archive at Unprecedented TV. Once again, please like us, please subscribe. It just takes one button to subscribe, and it makes our people in the back office very happy when you subscribe, and tell people about it if you like it as well. The show always goes on, and we're on air 7 days a week with something or other. And watch out for our new shows as well. Thanks very much to Warren Thornton. Thanks very much to China for giving us a lot to talk about. And thanks very much to David Lamy for giving us something to laugh about. I am Lembit Öpik. I'll be on other shows, of course, this week as well from time to time. Big thanks to the team. But more than anything, big thanks to you for having faith in us here on Unprecedented TV. I'll see you soon.
This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you?
Boring. 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 Boring.
You got it work. Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. Remember this. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages,